Hi there folks, my name is Jason Froud and you're watching my 5-minute thoughts on Enchanters. This is published by Jindy Games and designed by Raphael Suwiki. Really apologise, I've probably not pronounced that right. And it's a 2 to 4 player game, roughly sort of 45 minutes to an hour gameplay. Just before we get started with the 5-minute thoughts, I just want to do some housekeeping. So if you want to see what the game plays like in an overview video, you can check out in the card here. We have another video where me and my gaming friends are playing through a few turns. We do about 20 minutes of gameplay and we discuss the rules so you can get to know how the game plays, and of course give our opinions at the end. Also in the description below is a link to the current Kickstarter that's running for expansions for this. So this is the base game that I'm playing with, the very first edition base game, which now comes in a bigger box. But I'm going to be giving my opinions on only this, because this is all I've played. If you want to see what else they got to offer, you can follow that to the Kickstarter, and that'll give you more information there. Okay, so on 5-minute thoughts, each game will be scored on out of 50 points. And there'll be 5 criteria which I'll score out of 10 for each one, which giving an overall score, which at the end of the video will then be ranked according to other 5-minute thought reviews. And that way I can kind of see, and so can you, how I valued games based on these criteria. Obviously, it's all subjective to my own thoughts. So things like, for the first criteria, components, production, and the price value. The second one is theme, setting, stories, and so on. The third one will be mechanics. Is it family friendly? Is it easy to set up? And is it fun to play? The fourth one is the art, the wow factor on the board. You know, does it have a really good table presence? What is the layout like? And the fifth one is replayability. How many times will it get to the table? Is it long setup time? What are the game length time? Does it get shorter or longer the more you play it? Is it easy to teach to new people? That sort of things. So first thing is components, production, price, etc. I'm only going to judge it obviously purely on the base that I have, this first edition base game. So I'm ignoring everything else that it's comes with that I'll judge in a later video. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the quality of the game. The components are nice stock. It's got decent counters. The cards are nice quality. It has a nice finish. So everything about that is really good, solid components. I will dock it some points for the fact that it comes with a paper mat. I really don't like paper mats. It looks cheap, and obviously that, plus the fact that the box has no insert, which, considering the type of game it is, it's a card game where you're constantly shuffling cards together and separating cards out. There's no dividers or anything like that. Obviously both of those bring the price down for the game, which makes it more affordable. And I know I said I wouldn't mention anything about that, but the expansion does come with those options. But like I said, I have to judge this according to all other games that do these sort of things, and some games do have these. So it docked a few points for that, so therefore I'm going to give it, out of components, a 6 out of 10. For the theme and the setting and the story, etc. like that, there's no real theme to speak of yet. It's a fantasy setting. The setting works. It's, you know, got collecting armor and fighting monsters and getting enchantments and going to little fantastical villages and things like that. That all works. It's fine. It has no real story. I mean, it's got a very loose sort of story that you're protecting the villagers and journeying out into the wilderness to fight the monsters and stuff. Very loose theme, but I'm not going to hold it too much against that. I mean, theme and story drives the game's value up, or in score-wise, but I don't think the theme is a detriment to it, because this is very much a mechanical game. So I'm only going to give it a score of 5 out of 10, which is average. And I think the setting works, but it's nothing special. For mechanics and whether it's family friendly and is it fun to play on a regular basis, I think this is where this game shines. It has a great, interesting, unique mechanic where you basically shuffling loads of decks of cards together to create different replayability and different combinations of things. And then as they travel down the journey path, and you can spend money to go further down the journey path, you're collecting these things and adding them to your tableau, which then gives you a really interesting skills and strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that, and collecting points to win. I think it's really good. I think the mechanic shines. It's easy to teach to anyone. You can play this with any age. I've played it with my youngest son, which is 7, and you can play this with older people, younger people, non-gamers, gamers alike. I think it works. I think the mechanics is good, it's solid, there's not a lot of games like this, and therefore I think I'll give it a 9 out of 10 for that. For the art and the wow factor and the layout of the game, this one was a little more interesting to do because I think the art is really good. I think it's really solid. I really like the art a lot. It's very basic, but it's good. It's my type of art. I really like it. You get an immediate look of what it is. You know what you're looking at. The village's artwork gives you a little bit more into the setting, where you can see where you're, like if you're at a village or at a castle or something like that. It just adds a little bit more flavor to the game. I think that really works. The layout itself works fine. It's very compact, so it doesn't need a lot. The wow factor for the tables, I don't think it has a lot of wow factor. It's basically a deck of cards, like decks of cards. So there's no real wow factor, and the paper mat doesn't help. So overall, I think I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for wow factor and art, etc. Because I think it's solid, I think it's good, but it's not mind-blowing or anything like that. And then the final category is replayability. You know, does it have a lot of downtime? Is there a lot of game length to it? That sort of thing. So will it get to the table more often? I think yes. I think it's a very, very good game with, like I said earlier, easy to teach to anyone. It's easy to play with anyone. It doesn't take long. I mean, you play an hour-long game normally, and if you play it often, especially at lower play counts, it goes even quicker. It doesn't take a lot of setup time. So I think replayability is strong. Obviously, the strongest element to that is the fact that you have almost infinite combinations of stuff you can do. You have so many village cards, which changes the scoring, changes the actions you can do in the village, and then you have 6 decks of cards in the base game, which you can shuffle into various combinations, giving you various actions you can do, and the way they come out as well, because you shuffle the deck, and then the start is very similar in that you only have enchantments and equipment to start with, but after that it comes out completely different each time. So I think there's a lot of replayability, and I think it's a strength, so therefore I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. So that gives it a score, an overall score of 35 out of 50, which I think is a very solid score. And of course, as this being the first 5-minute thoughts, you can see here by the rankings, it drops into number 1 place. That might change obviously as I do more 5-minute thoughts, but currently it is the number 1 position game. Just before we finish off, I want to talk about a couple more games that are similar in nature that you might be interested if this is not your bag, or if you want to try something similar. So setting wise, I thought Tales of Glory from Enkama Games would be a good suit. It doesn't have anything similar in mechanics, but it has a similar feel in where you have your hero and you're going out fighting monsters, getting equipment, those sort of thing, but a completely different mechanic. This is as well, you could watch my video, which I'll put up in the link as well, but I highly recommend it, and I think this would be a good suit as well. Normally I try, when I pick a game that has a similar mechanic, I try and find a game that has a different theme. I couldn't, because this is quite a unique setting, but Wizwar from Fantasy Flight Games has a very similar element to it, in where you're shuffling different decks of cards together to create the game. In this one though, you're wizards fighting in a sort of an arena style battle, and you're collecting treasures. So it's a completely different style of game, but it has a similar mechanic in that, where you're shuffling the decks together to form the game. So those are my 2 considerations if you want to try out something similar or something different. Anyway, that's my 5-minute thoughts. It's a little longer because I had some bookkeeping to begin in the beginning, but hopefully I'll keep this down to 5 minutes in the future. If you liked it, please comment below. I'd love to see what you guys think of this sort of format. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.